Good morning and welcome to another exciting episode of New Day, your super favorite morning show. Of course, I'm here with Johnny and Solis Roscoe, and we plan to rock your morning right from now till 9 a.m. when we wrap up. Of course, it's Friday. It's Fantastic Friday, Fabulous Friday, whatever you want to call it. But all I know is it's just about the weekend. So whatever you had planned to do in the week, you should be bringing it to a halt by now. Just assess yourself what you plan to do, if you've covered it. If you haven't, today, there's still enough time. There's 24 hours more. So definitely you should put in some energy to wrap up anyway. It's a good morning. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing, ladies?
I hope you slept well.
Right. Yes, I did.
Awesome.
I'm so excited about today because the 20th anniversary free health screening at Susu, is happening. So
Right.
I'm super excited about it, that we're able to give back to society in a very special way. And that's what excites me. And Friday is here, so.
It is.
Well, I'm also excited because the Alliance for Women in Media, we're meeting some members of Parliament today to present a petition regarding the traditional rulers and their influence when it comes to defilement and rape cases, and regarding the 4-year-old child that was
I'm told that yesterday we shared a bit of that petition here on the show, but I'm told that there are new developments, which are not so clear,
but that's why we're supposed to get allowed the court. I mean, the police are supposed to be allowed to do their work and investigate. Not for it to be covered up like Ifiasem and things like that.
I mean,
the time for those, it's done.
Whoever talks about Ifiasem should drop dead instantly.
Whoa!
Yes, I'm serious about it. Whoever talks about Ifiasem should drop dead instantly.
We should
right
stop
now.
the Ifiasem.
Yes,
a child's life is not Ifiasem. It's because of these things that people feel like they can do these things and then they can just go scot-free just because people don't want it to come out and there are family issues. But Ifiasem, we're done with that. Let the police do their work and then let the law take its course.
It certainly cannot remain Ifiasem. No. I mean, I stand to read. Once the mother finds a problem with it and she's made it public, we know. So now you've allowed us in. So there's nothing as going back into privacy to deal with it or discuss with it. Listen, she's a child. She's a property of the state. We are also property of the state. But we're adults, so we have the right to choose what we want to do. And so we speak on her behalf.
Yes,
so really,
definitely.
at this point, there's nothing like going behind. It's when we don't know that we can leave it to chance. And you can do whatever you want to do. But once we know, it's become our business as well. And so we'll take it.
Ifye means home, right? Yeah. And if you are home and you consider that little girl as your nephew or your niece or your daughter, you won't do what you did.
Yeah, exactly.
Or little sister, you won't do. So there's no Ifiasem in this matter. I'm saying that. Well, I've cited some posts on social media that suggest that the hymen is intact and so there were no aberrations.
Even
and
an
all
attempt
of that.
to
I am
do that
saying
itself.
that that's not your place to be defiling somebody, to be holding a private part. It is not your...
Even an attempt is against the law.
Not,
even the attempt itself, let alone getting close.
In advanced countries, even fathers who have daughters, when they want to bath for them and the daughters say, I don't like it, and say, okay, go to mommy, let mommy do it for you. I mean, even that is calculated or counted as defilement or harassment. How much more somebody who is not related to you in any way, who comes to your home, picks you up, and goes to do whatever, and we're now hearing different angles to the story. I don't get it. If you ask them, whoever says it, drop dead now.
Yeah, well, Johnny?
But it's still Pink October month. I can't stop saying it. Of course, today I'm clad in pink and blue, so I must hype the Pink October month.
Like
it's about women.
We're checking our
my pink nail polish that you can't see. But we're checking our breast. It's very simple. Just divide your breast into 4 quadrants and do the simple exam and also check your nipple. Of course, if you find any abnormality, you can move to the hospital for them to also get it checked. But if you don't know how to do it yourself, just ask a doctor to teach you once or twice, or even a nurse can teach you as well. Any health worker who understands how to do the check can teach you, and then you can test for yourself.
I mean, I understand the work, so if you volunteer.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, I wished that this 20th anniversary health screening at 5 Junction at Susu would have included it so that some of us could go and help,
I'm sure they will, but you didn't volunteer early enough. Anyway, guys, it's time for the news. Solis Roscoe, you take us away.
Well, once again, good morning and welcome to Morning News. We have news from the world of health, education, politics, some business, and of course, the weather update. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, coming up in this bulletin, now it has emerged that parts of Major Maxwell Mahama is missing after he was murdered. We'll bring you details of that from the pathologist. And danger looms as the bridge on the rail line between Tesano and Alajo in Accra is caving in. Now, Ga youth demand immediate end to the protracted chieftaincy conflict that has rocked the traditional area. We have details of all these and more coming up in the next 30 minutes. Please stay. Right, let's take our first story. And the pathologist who conducted the autopsy on late Major Maxwell Mahama has told an Accra magistrate court he could not trace parts of the body of the deceased during the autopsy. Now, Dr. Lawrence Edusei told the court he is unable to tell who had taken the body parts and for what purpose.
On October 10, the court ordered the pathologist Dr. Lawrence Edusei and the head of the 37 Military Hospital Pathology Department to appear before it to explain why the report has delayed. Dr. Edusei, appearing before the court, said he had requested for the crime scene officer, the officer in charge of ballistics, and investigators to assist him, but none heeded to his request. He blamed the investigators for the delay of the report. In answering why he had not contacted authorities when he was faced with challenges, he told the court he encountered difficulties as the judiciary in previous years had not paid him for work done. The police prosecutor DSP George Amega in defense said the law gives the pathologist the opportunity to write to the police if he encountered difficulties and thus rejected the doctor's claim. The magistrate Ebenezer Kweku Ansa gave the pathologist and the police 3 weeks to work together to make sure the autopsy report is made available. 23 people are currently standing trial for their alleged involvement in the murder of Major Maxwell Mahama. Sitting continues on November 23.
And on to a trending issue, danger looms as a bridge on the rail line between Tesano and Alajo in Accra is caving in. Now, some residents allege train engines sometimes disengage from the coaches when the train gets to that bridge. This was revealed at the public hearing of the committee investigating the train derailment on Monday. This is Selim Aminya's report.
The Achimota train station near Santana Market was the venue for the public hearing. The committee, chaired by the Deputy Railways Minister, Kweku Agyemang-Boateng, is expected to ascertain the cause of the accident and make recommendations to avert future happenings. The committee is supposed to work on finding reasons for this particular derailment. If you talk about the Nsawam line, it was grounded because of totally different reasons. All lines can be good or bad. It doesn't mean accidents will not occur. What I'm saying is that we have to find what caused the derailment. It might not even be the tracks. It might be the driver fault, it might be the stock fault. I mean, rolling stocks, you get new ones, they can run into an accident. Owusu Mane was in charge of ticketing and found himself in the track that derailed.
I found out that the train was shaking, so I told the passenger they should be very calm because the train has derailed. They were rushing to get out. And I told them nobody should get out because when you try that, you wound yourself or maybe you will die. In fact, I tried my best to stop them. Still, they were rushing.
While some attributed the accident to speeding, others refuted such claims. Some attributed it to the poor state of the rail lines and bad maintenance culture. A tour around the rail lines reveal most of the land spaces around have been used as refuse dumping site. There are unbridled erections of makeshift structures, shops and food joints on the sideways of the rail lines. Assemblyman for the Abelempe, Tesano and Adama electoral area, Sidi Talikai, expressed worry over human activities around the rail lines, though under the National Railway Act, it is unlawful for any structure to be built within 100 feet of the railway.
Line itself, the railway itself has to get cameras to make sure that they have been secure or security on their line. It shouldn't be always the environmental health from AMA has to do that. They have to make sure they have an injury room monitoring their system.
Some workers were unhappy about the activities of individuals along the rail lines.
This is the piece of metal known as shank, and this actually holds the rail line and these sleepers together firmly on the ground. Some unscrupulous young men have been removing these shanks and actually selling them to scrap dealers. This is believed to have also accounted for a shift in the positioning of the rail lines.
A bridge which forms part of the rail lines that links Accra and Tema through Achimota became the topic for discussion at the public forum. Many expressed apprehension over the state of that portion of the rail line, describing it as a death trap.
Residents have complained to them that, look, stop the train for 1 month, construct the bridge, and it will be okay for we and the train to, we the residents and the train, because that's where we all crosses to the other side of the area. And we've complained, and what they are saying that it's from the authority. The authority is not minding them.
This is the Achimota Accra rail line, and to my right here is Alajo, and to my left is Tesano. A careful look or study of this particular rail line shows that this particular portion, which is over the drain, has sunk in a little bit. So most of the time, what the train drivers do is when they get here, to slow down to ensure that the unforeseen does not happen.
In spite of all these challenges, the Deputy Railways Minister, Jiman assured the committee's recommendation will be implemented to the letter.
We are going to overhaul all the lines. I mean, these lines are quite old. Look at the slippers. These are wooden slippers. The slippers are not even treated. There's going to be new tracks. We're going to rehabilitate these ones for the lines to work, and we're going to get new ones.
The committee will also hold private sittings on the incident. Persons who have any information to share with the committee can call 0266 510381. Selom Amenya, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, away from that, let's do some chieftaincy issues. And youth in the Jamestown area of Abolapiam have demanded an immediate end to the protracted chieftaincy conflict that has rocked the Ghana state. A police intervention on Wednesday prevented a bloodbath between two factions. Kamala Kluche filed this report.
For 12 years, Amate has been renting canopies and chairs in the Jamestown community. This business has sustained life for him and his family. His business is under threat with tension so high in the area.
Working on this area is not moving on, as we all know, for the past days, because of the fighting and the police people around here with the soldiers moving on and off. It's been a headache all over here.
Police armored tanks stationed at the troubled spot situated in an Abolam Piamwe stool house. Even though calm, intelligence from the police is pointing to reprisal attacks. While these are a worry to the people, the community is one of the poorest in the country, and planned structures compete with cars on the street, creating a congested environment. A description of poverty plagued with conflict. Subjects cry out.
Today, one faction installs a chief. Tomorrow, another also installs. It is chaotic.
The chieftaincy issue in the Ghana state has become legendary. Legendary because there's no end in sight to it. Sanitation is one of the issues, and you can see it is one thing that worries the people so much. Poverty is also very endemic, but the fights between the various houses claiming ownership to become leaders of the Ghana state is what is a bigger worry to the people. Will that solve the poverty issues? Will that solve the sanitation issues? For them, the most important thing is that the Ghana state becomes united and fights the common enemy of poverty and sanitation. Kamala Kluche, TV3 News, Jamestown, Accra.
Now, international relations expert Professor Vladimir Inchidanso has appealed to the President, Kenyatta, to show leadership by personally annulling the results of the elections. The Director of Academic Affairs of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College told Komla Kluche continued instability in Kenya could impact on the whole region and allow terrorist groups space to flourish.
It's a very dicey situation in Kenya, a very unfortunate situation. I do not think leadership in Kenya has done the country any good. Leadership, I mean the opposition, the government itself, and the Supreme Court.
The country has shown a lot of divide, both politically and ethnically, as such. After the polls, which I mean obviously Kenyatta will win. Now with security challenges like Al-Shabaab, or do you think that they can take advantage of possibly the security lapses within that part of the African continent?
Sure, that is our basic concern. You know, terrorists thrive in places of ungovernability, places of instability. When you have ungoverned spaces, the recruitment is high. They then occupy those places, those vacuums. And Kenya knows very well that Al-Shabaab at times uses its territory to cause all those atrocities in Somalia. And within Kenya, if they are having obstacles, they attack Kenya.
We also know that Kenya's main port of Mombasa is a hub for landlocked countries like Uganda. How will this insecurity impact on trade and economics of countries which rely on Kenya heavily for import?
The development of Kenya is going to be jeopardized. In the first place, Mombasa is not just a hub. Kenya generally is the hub for the interior, and Kenya is a giant in the East African community. Everything emanates from Kenya. In fact, the new infrastructure that they want all the way to the DRC, Goma, is running from Mombasa all the way through Rwanda and other places to DR Congo. And all these things may be jeopardized, may be stopped, may be hampered by instability in the country. Because if Raila Odinga would want to stress things further, then the strategy would be to make Kenya ungovernable, to make Uhuru Kenyatta's governance, the second term of office, very, very unpleasant. In that sense, it means pockets of non-state actors within Kenya themselves will make sure that Kenya doesn't rise. And if that is the case, then the whole region is in turmoil. I would like personally to advise President Uhuru Kenyatta to show leadership, to show some stern qualities to save Kenya. Even if the elections are run, I would want specifically
to show leadership.
Yes, show leadership by himself annulling these elections again and calling for fresh elections. It will show his statesmanship. It will show that he has saved Kenya. He has saved Africa. In fact, these elections, no matter where it goes, that he's going to win.
But he's only acting on the decisions of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled that there should be a rerun. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Let me give you an example.
If he does, he would be going contrary to the dictates of the Supreme Court.
He is the head of state, and his word carries a lot of weight. The ICJ ruled against Nigeria on the Bakassi Peninsula. And so Cameroon should have taken the peninsula just quietly like that. Obasanjo saw how the people of the Bakassi Peninsula were bent on staying there, and his own army was bent on making that place part of Nigeria. He saw the crisis. As a leader, he stood up, called Paul Biya for a summit. They met, they decided on what to do with the peninsula to save their people from the scourge of war. That is leadership. What they did could have been against the ruling of the ICJ, but they met after the ICJ and decided on something which is acceptable to the international community. And I'm expecting the leadership of Kenya to show leadership and save their country.
President Akufo-Addo has assured Ghanaians he is determined to ensure that the open border policy adopted by his government does not undermine the economy. He was speaking at the commissioning of officer cadets into the immigration service in Asinfosu.
The parade, which is the 9th batch of officer cadet to pass out, was made up of 34 males and 20 females. The officer cadets were admitted into the academy in December 2016 and passed through 10 months of intensive training. President Akufo-Addo said the process of regional and continental integration is an important measure to ensure Ghanaian businesses become more competitive in West Africa and beyond.
The opening of our borders is giving true meaning to the ECOWAS protocols on free movement of goods and persons, and will spur on progress and prosperity for our peoples. That is why, since 8th June 2017, the Aflao border post has been running for 24 hours, and same has been extended to Akanu and Segbe border posts.
Government, the president noted, is mindful of the security threat and challenges this policy may bring, especially with the growing threat of terrorism in the region.
The immigration service is critical to the security of our borders and in the prevention of cross-border and transnational crime. Indeed, it is at the forefront of the regional effort to combat growing terrorism. Equally important, the service is the first port of call for the offering of the famed Ghanaian hospitality to tourists and visitors to our country.
President Akufo-Addo charged the graduating class to discharge its duties professionally and help realize the vision of the immigration service.
President Akufo-Addo has on many platforms directed the police to deal decisively with the negative vigilantism in the country. Yet, groups associated with the ruling MPP continue to attack people with impunity, including even government appointees. The news team asked the Inspector General of Police, David Asante-Apietu, if the service is overwhelmed by these vigilante groups. Let's hear his response.
It is our duty, our mandate, to ensure law and order. But what somebody intends doing, or crime he has intended to commit, sometimes we are unable to prevent it. It does happen, and it is for us to respond accordingly. Well, someone will say that we should live in a society where all these things should not happen. But it's an ideal one, and I don't know. I don't think it is possible to have a society that is crime-free. They will occur, but our response and how we are able to manage it is what is important.
Is political manipulation one of the challenges the police is facing in dealing with?
When crimes are committed, we don't give it any color. It's crime. So we deal with it as that.
But when you have groups affiliated to one party or another committing allegedly committing these crimes, when you have groups that are affiliated to one party or another allegedly committing these crimes, doesn't it then make it somehow political?
This is the last question. As a police officer, we deal with crimes. If you are from a political party, you commit a crime, we're going to deal with you accordingly and not as somebody coming from another political party. Thank you.
Now, the premises of the fake doctor at Medina is now under lock and key. A combined operation by the Accra Regional Police Command, the Medina Divisional Police and a team from the Medical and Dental Council was on the premises of the Covenant Clinic to formally lock up the facility. AC Benewa Otu has the rest in the report.
So we are here on the premises of the Covenant Clinic here at Medina, and we are privileged to have the doctor here himself, and he is telling us that this is what he uses to detect, to check people or to diagnose people when they come here. And so this particular machine is able to detect whatever sickness that a patient comes here with. And so this is what he says, a quantum resonance magnetic analyzer. So this is actually what he uses, Alhaji. So how many people have you used this particular machine to work on?
I've used it for so lot of people, for a lot of the patients.
So what are some of the common diseases that you're able to detect?
Oh, all type of diseases. It can diagnose all type of diseases.
And so I'm asking the common type of disease that you're able to detect this with.
All type of diseases. It can diagnose all type of diseases. It can diagnose hypertension, high glucose level, like someone who's having a high glucose level, malaria, typhoid, or improper blood circulation.
Okay, so when it is...
That's a bad circulation into the vessels.
Okay, so when you are done, what next?
All type of heart diseases.
You do diagnose people with heart diseases?
It helps to diagnose the heart disease.
And so have you diagnosed people with heart diseases here?
They are there, many people.
Here?
Mm-hmm.
Here
many
at your
people.
clinic?
At my clinic.
And so after detecting that they have this kind of condition, what's next?
So when the condition is beyond my control, so I do refer a lot of cases. I refer some to 37 military hospital or the Rich hospital.
With what document?
Or I do write the report and give it to them.
Is there some you can show to us?
Or on a play sheet.
That you are?
Mm-hmm.
That you are?
They have to refer the fellow.
What do you write on for the patients?
Oh, just a normal referral note.
Okay, and this one is coming from which doctor?
From the Covenant Clinic.
We also see that you have a laboratory and ultrasound room. What about that room too?
The ultrasound, I think.
You think? Or
yes, really. I've just set it up, but I haven't started the work yet. I haven't started yet. I haven't started operating yet.
Are you going to operate it yourself?
No, please. Then we have special sonography for that. We are special technician for that.
Okay. Mm. You said you had your qualification from Europe.
Yes.
Which part of Europe and which university?
That's Belgium, Europe, in France.
Which institution?
In France, Belgium.
Belgium
school, institution.
And so when they get back to them, they will be able to...
I've done all things, all the documents are in court. Mm-hmm. All my documents from France are the court.
And the year you graduated?
Yes, all things are there.
And so you are certified to practice as a medical doctor?
Yes, please.
Okay. Mm. Are you a medical doctor?
These are dates.
But this is an environmental health sanitation. That is not a qualification.
I don't talk, please.
Well, TV3 will be following closely this story and bring you more updates as and when we get more information. It's now time for us to find out the weather forecast for the next few hours.
Weather report is brought to you by
All right, that's all for morning news here on TV3 with me, Solace Rose Quarty. Johnny and Amma return shortly with more on NewDay. Good morning.
I mean, I like the fact that he started it off maybe as a game. Like, I mean, we all were laughing about it, but I'm happy he's gone on to sign record deals. It just gives me the inspiration that whatever you really want to do, you just have to put your mind to do it. Even when the whole crowd is not going with you, just do it and be different.
Remember when we were kids, if you say something and somebody didn't hear, and then you ask, what do you say? Say Mingles?
Yes, and it used to be very annoying.
Okay, 3news.com will start off this news headline segment. And 3news.com has some very interesting stories you see. So Tilapia starts off and says, Kwesi Botwe report Hammer, a movie star, and says, well, Mahama is laughing. It looks like a journalist who's asking questions. And the NDC doesn't want to answer any questions about the Kwesi Botwe report. Do you find it fascinating that the committee was launched or announced publicly, and yet the party doesn't want to answer any questions?
That's where, you know, Johnny, people make things public, but then when the results come out, they want to privatize it. I mean, but for me, NDC is a party, they have internal affairs, however they want to handle it. Because at the end of it, I guess the report came out so that they can make something better, so that they can change whatever they find to be the faults. Work on it. So, I mean, really.
For me, I think it raises a key question about political party funding.
Right.
It also raises a question for me about, you know, whether the Electoral Commission is unable to properly police the political parties, because it's supposed to be within the purview.
It is.
So, if Ghana as a state was funding the NDC party or the MPP or PPP, whichever it is, then we can make demands of them. But now... sorry about that. Now they fund themselves, and so it becomes. But then it's become a matter of public interest because they are by far the largest opposition party, and so we are interested in what they do, how they do what they do, the issues that, you know, perhaps led to the defeat in the election, which is why the committee was set up anyway. I mean, I just think that the party should relax, because what is happening now with the party executives and the chief scribe just say, no, nobody must see it. It would rather heighten interest, and people would look everywhere.
Because you get
and
curious.
Then, yes, and then you have different versions of the report, and people will now misquote you, and that perhaps may be a huge problem for the NDC if care is not taken by the next election, because now people will be in the grapevine, people will be manufacturing things, people will be pushing rumors, and the times that you have to spend to push your political agenda and to sell your message and your candidate will be spent trying to respond to some of these things. I think that, well, I don't know, but it's entirely the NDC's decision what they decide to do with the report, how they decide.
But you're sharing what you also think they can do.
Of course, I mean, why not? I mean, I mean, yesterday Fred Agbenyo told Winston to go and pick a party card if he wants to know what's inside the report. Well, I mean, but I can say that not every NDC member, a card-bearing member, has seen the report anyway. So, I mean, even if Winston picks a card or I pick a card to join the NDC, chances that we'll see the report is very, you know, because it's been encapsulated. But hey, you know.
Anyway, do we have more stories?
We do. People will always be people. So
they will.
Good morning to our NDC friends. Accra is one train coaches turn into lavatory. So as the train, oh my God. So the train that derailed and the coaches are parked there, and people around the Sawam Achimota area have turned it into a lavatory.
Is it only a lavatory, or people actually also live in it, Johnny? In a place where housing deficits are real, you know, squatters would always be squatters. People will always turn opportunities to their favor. And so I think it's not only lavatory will be the worst of it, but I know people also stay there. And obviously if they stay there, they would want to have a place of convenience, and that's what it turns into.
So our train, yay, Ghana.
Yeah, and we'll spend money now trying to get new ones instead of refurbishing the, so.
Okay, Ashanti Region Police arrest self-styled lawyer for fraud. Self-styled lawyer, self-styled doctors. I don't know. Do we have engineers? Self-styled engineers.
If we go looking for them, we'll find them.
So what is it about people wanting to be called what they are not? What is it? I mean, for you, you're a doctor. When you see people who are not doctors, who want to be called doctors, or who have some honorary doctorate degree, which we all know must stay on paper, and they go about calling themselves doctors and demanding that they should be called doctors.
Johnny, if you know your self-worth, I really don't feel anything, because I know what I have, I know what I willed. I think that it comes down to your is it, I'm lost for words, but however you perceive yourself, if you have that high self-esteem, you won't go around parading yourself with titles. It's about what you have. Because for me, whether you call me doctor or not, I work. You get me? So I think it's about what people want, self-acclaimed interest. I want to be called a lawyer so that I can go into certain corners, get certain favors, do stuff I'm not supposed to do, all in the bid for getting money. So it boils down to what they want at the end of it. But hey, we've allowed it. It's become a system. It's too many of those. Every day you find them.
He's living on people's monies. And if you, 748,000 Ghana cedis, he's duped people to that tune. And he's fake. I feel so depressed and livid.
And I think it's because of our, rate of literacy. Because, Johnny, you and I may question, I mean, that's not to say some literates won't be defrauded or whatever it is, but sometimes you question people's actions. And so for me, if you say you're a lawyer, I'm willing to see where you work, what goes on there. Does someone also know you to be a lawyer? I would ask certain questions before I entrust all my money or my documents into your hands. So I think some people need to probe further, be curious enough to know where they're coming from, what background, where did you work, where did you school before you wield all your trust.
Who were your classmates?
Exactly.
Somebody comes and says he's a doctor, he doesn't have a classmate.
He doesn't have a school. You're wondering whether they mentioned.
Anyway, so Ankafo staff demand removal of hospital director. And interesting that
that's Dr. Dodonyo, right?
Yes, they're asking him to go. Yeah, Dr. Dodonyo, was he at the Rage Hospital back then? That's not him.
I'm not sure where he came from, but all I know about him was when he was at Ankafo, because we carried the story about a day in the life of the psychiatrist, and he was there. But I mean, they're unhappy with their state of conditions of service and all that. So
but is it his fault? Is it a doctor's fault? Is it a medical director's fault? Or is it a problem of, the structure, Ghana Health Service and Ministry of Health? Is it? So what is the problem? Why are they putting the problem on the man? I don't know.
Can we check the story?
Let's check out, because I don't get it. I mean, really, and it's not the first time. Rage Hospital, Kolebu, they were all demand for the man to, I mean, really. So some members of staff of the Ankafo Psychiatric Hospital in the Central Region are demanding the removal of Hospital Director Dr. Eugene Dodoy. The concerned staff have therefore petitioned the Minister of Health through the Mental Health Authority to take immediate steps to relieve Dr. Dodoy of his post. The petition intercepted by 3news.com says, since Dr. Dodoy was appointed 2 years ago, he has embarrassed staff countlessly. He has ruined the therapeutic relationship that existed since the inauguration of this hospital. Staff have complained several times about his poor relationship as well as the disrespect for staff, but he is unconcerned. Staff have petitioned the Mental Health Authority severally about the development, but nothing has been done. They also accuse the wife of Dr. Dodoy of using official vehicles to run private errands, and the director's wife, who is not the staff of the hospital, was seen on many occasions driving the hospital's pickup to run her personal business. Oh no. They also cited the hospital director purchasing 3 television sets for a total of 20,880, a figure they find too astronomical. 3D TV.
So the last, that comment, Dr. Dodoy is still keeping and raising a baby born by a patient whose relatives are unknown in a psychiatric ward and refused to release the baby to social welfare after they have made several attempts, and this led to... sounds murky there.
Okay, so anyways, the issues are playful. Interesting. Well, very, very interesting. But
Johnny,
I don't know. So, aside Dr. Dodoy's wife driving the official vehicle, which is wrong, and him keeping the child, which is also wrong, and spending 20,000, which for me sounds ridiculous. What does it mean? What does a relationship mean? Is it that, okay, somebody who was there previously was allowing them to do what they want, and perhaps he is being too stringent and not allowing them to do what they want? I think that oftentimes when people, and I'm not holding brief for Dr. Dodoy, but oftentimes when people say, oh, that's what this manager is good, this one he's not good, this one is too strict, it is because he doesn't want to bend the rules, and so people assume that, well, yes, you know, Yes. I'm ranting. Coco.
But we're talking vigilantes, you know, Johnny. In recent times, we've spoken about it, particularly after NPP took over government, and we saw them rampage. We saw it happening. The problem is, one time police clumps a group of people down, they punish them in some way, but it doesn't seem to serve as a deterrent for others.
Oh, because just recently, the vigilante groups.
They'll pursue, but when they say pursue, what does it mean? Because they pursue Delta Force, but see where it ended. It didn't serve as a deterrent enough for those who went at Karaga. They went on a rampage as well.
In the Ashanti region, it was in broad daylight.
Right.
When the gentlemen went out there, they chased out the national security, whatever it was. They went to court in broad daylight. We were told that we couldn't identify the people.
Right.
This Karaga thing was in the evening.
So that one even worse.
Can we identify anybody?
It was dark.
And the police PRO there says, well, yes, they have heard about it, they know about it, and they are investigating.
Right.
Well, so are we losing the fight? That's the question we're asking. Are we losing the fight against vigilantism? The president said he will not condone it. IGP says he will pursue. What do you think? Check out George and the folks on the streets of Accra.
Today's discussion is on vigilantism. At a point in time, we thought the activities of these vigilante groups had come to a halt, but it appears that is not the case, as some Irish youth of Karaga and the northern region chased out the DCE for allegedly causing the arrest of 2 persons. That said, in Tama, invisible forces also threaten chaos if government failed to provide them with jobs. The list goes on and on. And so the question is, have we failed in the fight against vigilantism in the country? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
Vigilante group ni na buy. You need police are memo about God. They say we are leader, and I say we are party leader. You have pen for another police for another for ammo say. Then lead the way. Now Ebenezer say vigilante group we buy ya. More by say ya ben abuy one day net mark we na government police na say soldier na ya form okrum ha no. Omu ni ahondin bia. She say na esu flash house. Ya go police, ya go police ni. Expect the power ya bu no. MPP am on hwe. Ya bu no man pedi ni bona no agufado.
With any topic we are making sure say for politics. But vigilantism, I don't know. Said then a 2 big trap.
Vigilante super trap. This MPP abaya what was saying was starting here baby because MPP abayin ba akakabin some grasso
Adamu politics
enya no na ye kan me be say NDC was no vigilante groups no omo ni ho anaye ano
chira me
azoka boys omo fin
azoka boys
Walga Bulldogs omo fin
me say we mo protect we mo party executives we man kwa pam abayin ni pa bi afri office me say
but enu so one form omo
what's that
azoka boys one form omo
and me chira say azoka boys now
enya your mama na form omo
but we man kwa pam is better bi afri office
so okay, do you want say vigilante groups disband on one say
yes,
we should control the
activity? We should ban them.
If it were to be the reverse, anka unkasa say. What mean anka unkasa say? If it be anka the other way around.
And if other way around, we know what I mean.
I know,
but I was saying Kasa say Ghana for. Yen kasa ti say individual wa be transfer bio public TV so a wo beba TV3 e ko ba bia wi asi nyina ye hwe into be trans TV so na ye ka de be bua Ghana mene wu e na ye ma on beba da chi e me ye say na we num ti we nu enya na ye ka tie ye bisa me nu mienu say die na be ya vigilante groups nu e beba down ye mba nu o mo ana ma ye mba nu wo adwi ni say
ma sama me nkyere ma adwen asama ye bisa me na wo say no we nim tumi bia o obi a ya tu no 5 million Ghanaians ya can vote no wa win na wa ye man panim ma me na wo sese ana ya kufa do ade anu si wo na abobo na anu wanti ba ya bibi me na wo na betima band group no sami ya wo ku ya di ana me kire o say ya adwen na me ka kire o say wo man panim ka sa ya MPP nimpa wa ye ya nyina ye wo man panim nda no ade anu si wo na abobo ano na wo gusu num ti 9:30
ade anu si ano fa tuo no nko bom pa
ya njani nimpa
Nanu ya bejeli. Hey, onu na bejeli. Wa na e mo peni o ga ha. Wa na e mo peni o ha. Obi bejeli obi. Mesi wa on dia ko yin wo prison. Onu onya sa onu di mra na e adwuma. Anti mara ne an say yenja yembu pusbata ni.
Okay, talking about Sabia, you better punish these vigilante groups. I know, say Delta Force Kwan, ye dio masem.
Ye dio masem.
CDD for about say fines near Dama Omono and so because Sabia is so anti master they will still do whatever is fine the fine Delta Force. Next CDD can say so.
Na master say we tie me ya or buying empa security coordinator, someone to have liberty to walk left, right, to rise to the high building and demolish the man and push him to the floor. Full glare of public. Yeah. So at the end of the day, then you ask somebody to bring the evidence. When you talk about the evidence, I don't get it. What is the evidence? What is more or less? Somebody was emulated. Now we need evidence. Obi says, "Now we need police. Now we need evidence." Evidence. You need witness. You need evidence.
Adamu complain. Say, fines near the moment.
And you're too small. I said, fine. Answer, man. Me know we are doing.
That's what it talk from.
Fine. Who can say fine at the moment? No, sir. Me know we are. It makes sense. I say. And no, so I'll bet me. Why not tell who can say next time find this no be benu and cost rana all expenses on sentence at least 2-3 months. Who can say it makes sense? Yeah, bet who can say for now who can't say who attacking president now? Me no nya agree. Ma say to aban ahwana number 1 security our Ghana Ghana. Yeah. Maybe say we ni mo natural. I'm coming. If you don't know my menchiro. In there, you can say brigadiers for no one who are now under command of presidency. So, President Akufo-Addo is the #1 security officer in Ghana. If you don't know, let me educate you on that one. So he should be able to put his feet on the ground.
But so that's same president.
We work with constitution.
Okay, that's
so
same.
The constitution says they should beat somebody. They should.
That same president, our commander-in-chief, they say.
Yes.
Vigilantism, no. It has been under control. At least they've done some. There's been some efforts.
I didn't see it.
You've not seen it.
I have not seen anything.
I've seen it.
Recently, somebody should go. And sack a security coordinator from his office. He was demolated. They assault him.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you are telling me 2,000 Ghana cedis. They were sent to court and they were fined. How much is that? 2,000 Ghana cedis.
Every time to raise 2,000, it'll be difficult for me. So that would be the same.
So it means, look, if you are chasing my wife and I can kill you and they'll find me 2,000 Ghana cedis. It's easier for me to do.
Who kill who?
I am telling you.
Kill who?
It is easier for me.
Who killed
At the end of the day.
Nobody has been killed.
Okay.
And somebody was assaulted. Someone was assaulted.
They've been fined.
So are you telling me in the constitution the assault case will be fined within the remit of 2,000? Is that what
you make your case? It is how you make your case.
So the thing is,
and the good lawyers that you have.
Who makes you are supporting impunity?
So clearly,
this one, look at him. Are you supporting impunity?
Clearly, vigilantism in the country.
But I'm still
so what is the way forward?
The way forward is that the president of the republic, President Akufo-Addo,
I don't want it to be just the president. It will be like different presidents will come. So what is the way forward?
Look,
let me
put this across.
Yes.
Assuming the Togo, they're nearby.
Yeah.
And when they need the security here, there is no way a layman like you and I can give them any assistance.
No, for sure. Yeah.
It is the presidency.
Yeah.
He's the #1, commander-in-chief. That word, define it. Commander-in-chief.
Yeah.
He has to sit up.
Yeah.
If they can chase somebody, I'm coming.
He's the commander-in-chief.
Yes. So on his compound, they can put somebody and eliminate him and do him whatever they want as a security officer, sergeant or corporal. For that one, I can't define, George, because I am not.
But why would you also address the people, those vigilante groups? Why would you also talk to them,
George,
and leave the president? They say talk to them.
George, the whole thing is that vigilante groups. The only thing I was saying, I was saying for the meantime, they banned you.
Okay.
In the first place, they banned you. That's why I said, "What about power? What power? Ni mind Ghana no so person party papa ebesum na ye. It is a abano onye adwuma kra. Enu nkyere say.
But I say who say what promise say wo ba bo ma adwuma ye.
I promise you, I'm not only qualification. Qualification, I want to say, I don't know what I'm saying.
In August this year, our tema, Invisible Forces, Act 13 say, Obama Temaye Butu, if Abaya Momu Juma.
Yes, George.
And these are people, maybe I sure Musoki, I'll give you job. These are and so if back out now 1 year,
George, we are all Ghanaians. Me, my chiche party t-shirts, my cheche, my koram, mama, come and say me, my nyama bebre. Na ubi say party bar power no. Minko obiansu frame me say, hey, una occurrence na ochiche yen t-shirt. Yeah, fighting for Ghana. Ebi aban bi wo so ye say nyama nkitinkitin bi e koso na ebi enye man ye pese omusisan. Na say fight na party biaba. Vigilante groups now more. Me did say, and yes, you are not fighting for your own selfishness, for the sake of Ghana. That you all fought for one common goal. If the party is in power now, just exercise patience. Muntu mubu na yeshade. The Papa party
well, these are the concerns coming from the public. The one government to ensure the activity as the concerns they have for government. Let's know what you also think about this. Log on to our social media platforms on Facebook, there's news on TV3 and on Twitter. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back and thank you very much for joining us here on New Day. The Daily Graphic this morning, Daily Guide, beg your pardon, says, we farmer busted. No food for NDC polling agents. Botwe report reveals. Minority rejects special prosecutor bill. And Afoko killed Adams, witness says so. The Ghanaian Times says, Reverend Amafo Blay, others appointed board directors of NTC. MPs engage in crossfire over Special Prosecutors Bill 2017 and government to launch campaign against corruption and punctuality, according to the Minister for Education, Mustafa Hamid. No recognition for self-styled GAR chiefs, according to the regional minister, Ni Ama Ashite, and will pursue all vigilante groups, IGP says so. MTN sanctions 3,000 agents for mobile money fraud. New boards for state-owned media, Professor Kakare chairs graphic. Energy bond realizes 2.2 billion and 22 million mobile accounts, 11.6 million bank accounts in Ghana. That's interesting though. The Ghana Palava says Akufo-Addo's nephew gets petroleum sector appointment. Baumia's brother lands top interior ministry post. And Boache Jacko is candidate for jail as judgment debt looms over refusal to pay a merit contract fee. The Independent says plans on course to make Ghana an aviation hub. Akufo-Addo and mobile money fraud, MTN to train judges. Finally, the front page of the Gold Street says domestic tourism spending hits 698.4 million Ghana cedis. GSS survey shows Ghanaians spend more on funerals than leisure. And because it's Friday, perhaps we'll touch on this briefly. While we'll ask the gentlemen who have joined me whether they have a funeral coming up or whether they will be visiting a tourist site. Dr. Clement Park is MP for Bosa South and has joined me. Doc, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you.
Nice walk. It's a symbol of tourism, isn't it?
Yes, yes. You know, as somebody who likes to promote my culture and my history and my heritage, and we are all encouraged to do the same. I like donning the smoke. And this one was given to me by my main men in the Bosa South constituency. So, you know, I greet them, my Pusini, Nisoluk, Busgamena, my Pusini.
Nice one. Eric Chum is Deputy CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. He's also wearing Ghana. Eric, good morning. Right. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Following the president's leader.
Very, very, very much so. I think that apart from everything else, it also boosts the local economy because it gives jobs to our local people.
Let's start off with the Ghanaian Times. The IGP says will pursue all vigilante groups. This is not the first time we've heard about it. But it looks as if there's lawlessness everywhere. And my question is, are we losing the fight against lawlessness, vigilantism, whichever it is? Are we? Doc?
Well, let me say again to you and my colleague Eric here, fine gentleman, good morning to viewers. You have asked a very profound question, and indeed, That is a question that is on the mind of many a citizen of this country. In our quest to improve the conditions of our people, of ourselves and our family, and of our nation, the most important ingredient is peace and stability. We can have our dreams and aspirations. We can have all the best policy ideas. We can make all the best laws. We can take the biggest loans and what have you. But if we don't have peace, where citizens can feel free to go about their work and to contribute their quota without fear of intimidation, without fear of being attacked, without fear of retribution, without fear of vindictiveness, then we are not going to make progress. As we speak now, can you tell me any nation in any part of the world which has made progress under conditions of insecurity? But let's bring it home and be more specific. It is very clear that since January 2017, we have seen this new wave or this new trend of an almost sustained, weekly based implosion of one kind or the other, which has to do with acts of impunity and lawlessness. And it is sad to say that all of this is happening under the leadership of our president, whose credentials include being an astute human rights lawyer, a former attorney general, as you well know, and indeed somebody who, by and large, is agreed to be a legal luminary. So the point is this: what is it that accounts for, by and large, elements of the NPP and their activists and their vigilante groups behaving in ways that is in direct opposition to even the ideals that the NPP itself espouses? I mean, we know, if we are looking at Ghana's political history, listen to political commentators, particularly from the NPP, they always, create the impression. Now I think it's an impression because what is happening on the ground does not complement what they've been telling us. They always create the impression that they are a party of the rule of law, they respect the processes and the procedure. And yet what do we see? We saw it begin here in Accra at the seat of government.
The president has made a statement that the police should act. In fact,
but
the
you see,
IGP
that is the problem.
that
is the problem. You and I sitting here, we know that the type of governance system that we operate is the executive that has the authority. The president is not designated and given the powers as the commander-in-chief for nothing. He is the one who has to make it happen. And so if he has given directives that persons who engage in acts of violence, be they invisible forces, Delta forces, Kandahar boys, now Karaga boys, or Sisala West boys, what have you, we expect that action will be taken. So if the president has issued instructions and yet there is clear indication that the directives that he has given are either not being enforced because the police feel intimidated, or as I like to say, perhaps have been castrated in taking on this.
Castrated by who?
I mean, by the vigilante groups, because obviously it has become one too many. And I mean, people have chronicled since January to today, at least not less than 18 occurrences of this nature, the latest being in Upper West. Have occurred. So if after the president had assured the nation, when he addressed the August House of Parliament, where he said that he had given the IGP instructions to deal with any group or any persons who decide to engage in acts of lawlessness, if after that we still are chronicling this day in and day out, what does that tell you? Clearly, either the police is incapable, or the police feel castrated and powerless, or simply nobody is taking the president seriously when he gives those instructions.
What do you advise,
and it is very
Dr.
worrisome.
Park? What do you advise we do? Because this is a national concern, really. What do you advise that we do?
That the president needs to put his foot down. That the IGP must encourage his men to take action, regardless of whose party activists or supporters break the law. But what is happening, I can tell you on authority, and I've said it before, is the copycat syndrome. Because once one group engages in behavior that is unacceptable, which is punishable, and gets away with it, it then gives the impression to other groups that they can do same. And that is exactly what is happening.
The Delta 13 were punished by
you truly call that punishment? I mean, they had
the court's
engaged
judgment, that was
and
the
behaved in a way that was so reprehensible, had never been recorded in the history of our nation. I mean, when was the last time you heard that a group of young men, a vigilante group, actually had the audacity to mobilize, invade a court, intimidate a judge, and free their colleagues? And all we could do is for them to be fined, which is largely giving them a kiss on the cheek. They were boasting. We heard them. And indeed, they were backed by high-ranking members of the governing party. They told us directly that they knew the outcome of the proceedings before the verdict was announced. So when you have situations like this, what is the deterrent to prevent other groups, like the ones that we have just been told about, engaging in similar acts? So, as the saying goes, when the fish is going to rot, it begins from the head. And I trace all of this to what happened to Nanka Bruce at the Flagstaff House, what the invisible forces did, going to take over Ghana, the passport office, Tema, what the Delta forces did, what the Kandahar boys did. And so it keeps snowballing. And we must put a stop to this. It is not acceptable. Our peace and security is most important. The political entities, particularly the high-ranking members of the MPP, should stop defending and shielding miscreants who definitely feel that they have a sense of entitlement. We are all entitled. Right. We all have a stake in this corporation, if you like, corporate entity called Ghana. Just because your party has won power does not give you the right to overlook, lay down processes and procedure and to take the law into your own hands. But it is the president who has the responsibility of creating the secure, stable, and peaceful environment for all of us to contribute our quota.
Dr. Apak, I thank you very much. Eric, so the president has made a call. The IGP says we'll follow through with this call. But then there's also the note of contradiction where the Delta Force people were invited to the Flagstaff House for a meeting. It was all over in the news. And something that, well, if you have a father and your father says your actions are being disrespectful to him, he doesn't call you to come into his presence for you to, so to speak, have a fun time. And that perhaps maybe what is fueling this. What do you say to all of this, plus the issues Dr. Park has raised?
Well, thank you, and then good morning to all our viewers, to Doctor, and yourself. I think that to start with, Doctor started on a note that I thought was going to be almost apolitical this morning. And then before I knew, he has derailed.
He did?
Yes, he has. You see, when you want to essentially attach everything to the president, His Excellency the President, and this is something that they had done even whilst he was a flag bearer, an opposition leader, and that everything that basically goes awry is the doing of President Akufo-Addo. I mean, once you do that, basically you debase the conversation.
Doesn't the back stop with the president?
There's absolutely no doubt that in terms of ultimate responsibility, it sits with the president. And the president has shown conviction by stating categorically that the individuals who have been engaging in these acts should be dealt with by the police. And by default, what it means is that the police have had the opportunity and have all the power to do what their core mandate seeks them to do.
How many orders does the police get?
Let me make my point. If there are essential challenges in terms of them being able to execute that mandate, let's by all means have a conversation around that. I don't think that anybody in their right state of mind would countenance behaviors like that. You understand what I'm saying? So for me, the conversation should not even be about it's NPP vigilante groups or NDC vigilante groups. Once it's in discipline, it's in discipline.
Do we know, Eric?
Listen,
sorry, Eric.
You're not interjecting him when you were
Sorry about that.
speaking.
You're saying that,
Yes.
I want clarification for myself and my viewers as well. You're saying that the president has given the order and nobody will countenance this if you're in your right frame of mind.
Exactly.
So the police may have challenges.
Yeah.
Do we know the challenges the police have, which is preventing them from performing their core mandate?
But I think that the police or the IGP is best placed to actually answer this question. I would essentially be asking the question, wow, so if we live in a community and these are individuals who are meant to be a vigilante group in a community, and there's police presence, we have BNI officials, we have national security officials and all of them in that particular community. And these individuals are individuals who are not faceless individuals, but people that we can find and trace. Then something has to give. Somebody has to take responsibility and make sure that these people are brought to book. And I think that anybody that speaks on this issue is of the view that people who indulge in these indisciplined acts should be brought to book. Apart from that, you see, when we start having this conversation and then my good friend Doctor goes on this tangent, it gives a perception that we want to equalize. Okay. But I can give you a plethora of examples. There was a time when it happened that NDC had come into power, and there were individuals who were thinking that the appointment of Honorable Haruna Idrisu, for instance, had taken too long. They burnt offices, they burnt billboards, they went on a rampage in Tamale and its environs, right? Was it because President Mahama had actually instructed him to do so, right? There was occasions where there was meant to be a tendering process in one of the municipalities up there, right? And people actually went there, took the boxes and burnt it and all of those things, and the tender process didn't go through. We've had district chief executives being shot and all that, and killed in some districts in the past under your watch. So for me, when these things happen and you don't deal with the germane issues as to what is even the root cause for some of these challenges, and you start listing, right, incidents that have actually happened under the watch of President Akufo-Addo, and then I go back and tell you that under your watch, X, Y, Z happened, then where are we going? So for me, it's important that...
Nowhere.
Exactly, that is what I'm saying.
Which is why I'm asking. So the note of contradiction, you have not responded to that.
No, but nobody has contradicted anybody. I can. That's what I'm saying. That I can give you examples. When you're talking about contradictions and you're talking about...
No, I'm talking about this particular one. You know we don't have a lot of time.
But let me make my point. You see, when you're talking about contradiction, you're talking about double standards and all that. There was a period in this country where there was a by-election in Tripoli, where an individual was seen on national television wielding a gun, where people were shot. As we speak today, under the watch of NDC, I don't know where that individual is, but they were not even able to bring that person to book. But that is why I am saying that if we go towards this tangent where you say that there's insecurity, I am not following Dr. Smith. I'm trying to suggest that. Let's move away from this whole idea of that there's insecurity and that something has happened at the Flagstaff Bar, there's something that happened in Kumasi, and by virtue of that, there's insecurity in this country. And I am saying that if you go by that logic, and I'll give you a plethora of examples, I'm not lying. There was a time in this country.
Eric, we know the
example. There was a time. No, let me run up. There was a time in this country where
Eric,
individuals, Ghanaians, were murdered in broad daylight at Abogloshi.
Eric, we can do examples all the way
that
back
is what
into
I'm
Dr.
saying.
Nkrumah's regime. I'm saying that my simple question is, the president said he won't condone this. He has subsequently given an order to the IGP to make sure that the law works to bring the people to book. Now, following which, there was a meeting with the Delta Force and Chairman Nchiboy Siaku up there. So, question is it not contradictory?
No, but that is why I'm saying that. You have a view on the fact that individuals who have been taken through the due process of the law and have been found culpable, right, and they identify with a particular political party, and that there's some kind of engagement with them as contradiction. But I'm saying that if we go by that line, right, where you have people sitting on radio, on national platforms, actually calling for the death of a sitting Chief Justice, right, and that individual's being actually sent to jail, and then the president actually issuing a pardon for them, or leading members of the NDC actually going on, even probably some of them were even trying to go on hunger strikes, right, to say that these individuals should be released.
I'm sorry, but you're still doing equalization.
I am not doing equalization.
Eric,
I am saying that.
I'm sorry, but you're
I am giving you
hold on, Eric.
a plethora of examples.
Eric, we know the plethora. I mean, we report these issues. So you're doing equalization.
I am not doing equalization.
You have not been able to answer my
but
question.
That is why I'm
saying that. My question one more time, perhaps finally on this one, that the president said, I don't like this. He's giving an order to the IGP to act. Up till now, we have not seen the action that will be deterrent.
That cannot be the case.
So that I'm saying that when Chairman Echibo Isiako or Chairman Wuntumi brought the Delta Force to the Flagstaff House, there was a meeting like that. And I'm saying that
who did they meet?
If you have a father, who lives in the Flagstaff House?
No,
Eric?
but that is why I'm saying
Eric, who lives in the Flagstaff House?
Listen. You see, you're making a big mistake. I'm saying that when we want to have conversations around these things, right, let's get to the root cause. What is the reason why people have essentially given themselves some sort of level of impunity, and then they can go out there and do these things by virtue of the fact that they are aligned to political party A or B? And let's deal with those issues. We were sitting here, even before the program started, having conversation about the fact that there's some level of indiscipline, and whereby people who are meant to be responsible for their actions are basically let go scot-free. And that's something that cannot be allowed to basically continue. But this conversation
is it your opinion that the meeting of the Delta Force with the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, with the President, following the unfortunate incident that happened in the Ashanti region, could have fueled this? Is it your opinion?
No.
It couldn't have.
No, and I don't have.
And is it your opinion that is contradictory of the President's order?
Listen,
it's a yes or no will suffice for me at this point. Is it your opinion that that meeting is contradictory of what the President says he believes in and he's directed the IGP to act on? Is it your opinion?
It is not my opinion is very simple. My opinion is that the law was allowed to work. They went through the due process. They were brought to courts. The processes went through. They were fined. You understand? And if these individuals are seen to be people that can be engaged to actually desist from that, there's absolutely no contradiction in that matter. Unless, of course, you are saying that once you go through the due process and you have been either charged or you've been acquitted, nobody can engage you.
Says they were treated with kids' gloves, they were given a kiss.
That is why I'm saying that. You see, I can engage you on this particular platform and even engage the ordinary Ghanaians watching this particular program. But we're not going to take moral lessons from Dr. Clement Apak and his people, by virtue of the fact that their track record speaks to something totally different from what they are actually espousing.
Never involve a president hosting.
Oh, but you people, nobody else. Listen, that is why I'm saying that. When the Muntie 3, and that was not a court, the Chief Justice who actually superintends over the court system was actually threatened. Some individuals actually threatened to even do all sorts of nasty things to her that I can't actually repeat on this platform. When leading members of the NDC were out there signing petitions and all that and releasing them, and the president actually cowing and kowtowing to their pressure and actually issuing a pardon for them. Is that what you're talking about?
So my big question to you, gentlemen, and
has fueled and encouraged.
It hasn't done anything. And I've given you examples of incidents that happened under your watch.
Has enhanced and encouraged this type
Gentlemen, away from that,
it is clear. You can't run away from it.
Let me give you both 30 seconds each, and we'll be very stringent on that. So beyond the equalization, beyond the plethora of ideas and examples that we have, the compendium of things that we're listing, can we ever get beyond this point of lawlessness? Doc, 30 seconds for you. Eric, 30 seconds for you.
Well, I don't think we have a choice. We have to, because the peace unity, security, and stability of this country. It's our collective responsibility. And the president swore an oath. I have a copy of the Constitution. I always carry it. He swore an oath to protect and defend. And that includes all of those persons who are being victimized by these blatant acts of lawlessness, encouraged both overtly and covertly.
So can we
by the ruling party
get beyond this point of lawlessness?
Well, if the president decides that he is going to go by what he has sworn to do, I don't think that there should be a problem. Because if the IGP cannot give effect to the president's orders, who appoints the IGP? Why is he at post?
Okay.
I mean, what is the purpose?
Eric, can we get beyond this point of lawlessness?
I believe we can. I think that it's important that...
How soon can we do this?
The call and even the caution that has come from the president and even the IGP and leading members of our society to the effect that this particular behavior cannot be countenanced and it's something that needs to be nipped in the bud ASAP. It's important that we also agree that, listen, there are certain things that have probably led to some of these things. Let's deal with those issues. There are people who claim that it's a vigilante group, right? And sometimes I get a bit worried because we are actually probably fueling this sort of behavior. Because a group of individuals can get together and go and essentially misbehave themselves somewhere and be called a vigilante group. You understand? Me, I first heard about vigilante groups when I heard about Azoka Boys and all of those things.
Okay, let's move on.
But that is by the way. I feel that it's something that, and a point of caution to the young people of this country. Indiscipline will not wash, and the president has shown a commitment and the conviction is there that any individual who basically engages in acts like this should be brought to book. And you can't do that if you have grievances, if you have issues, there are proper channels to be able to deal with them. And of course, nobody would...
So for you, we can go... We need to move on now. Your 30 seconds is long gone.
Yes, listen. A lot of people, some people would be unhappy with some, what do you call it, appointments and all that. There's always going to be disappointments, right? But there are different ways and there are better ways of dealing with these things and the grievances that come with it.
Agreed. 050-823-5228 and you agree to.
I agree.
You agree on this one.
On the last part of it.
So join us on WhatsApp. Let's go on now to into Parliament. Doc, you're in Parliament.
Yes.
The Special Prosecutors Bill is back in the chamber. Second reading happened yesterday, and there was crossfire, sharply divided. The minority thinks that, well, there are some subtle way to want to amend some portions of the Constitution, and which is not right per 296 of the Constitution 1 and 2 that says that you cannot do that by an act of Parliament. The majority thinks that, well, this is the right time because we want to fight corruption. Calculating the cost of corruption, are we getting towards the end? Would the prosecutors' bill change anything at all?
Well, I think that we all agree, and it was made very clear on the floor of the House yesterday by our leader and those who spoke on behalf of the minority during the debate that we all want to fight corruption. I don't know of any government that has been in charge of the affairs of this nation, be it civilian, constitutional, or military, that never had an agenda to fight the canker of corruption. We all understand the negative implications of corruption, how it can destroy society, it can destroy democracy, it can give avenue and room for the criminal element to take over, essentially. I mean, practically, even if we look at in the area of development, how acts of corruption can deprive hospitals, for example, from having the needed drugs and supplies, how roads perhaps will be shortly done. So we understand the implications of corruption. And I think that is why we have said from the onset when this bill was proposed that we are not opposed to it. But as a responsible minority, we must also point out any deficiencies in as far as the intended purpose of the bill, which, you know, we hope will become a fine law, is concerned. And particularly so, as lawmakers, we must always debate and look at proposals within the context of what the Constitution says. And that is why, if you listen to our side of the argument, we certainly never said, and we didn't say yesterday, that we are opposed to it. We are just drawing the attention of the majority to what we see as a constitutional clash with the nature of the bill as being proposed. And that is why we have quoted Article 88.3. I mean, if you look at Article 88, where it talks about the powers granted, the Attorney General, it is very clear. And if you look at the draft bill, I mean, even with the over 100 amendments and more, it's not even done yet. But so far, over 100 amendments have been done. It has improved from the original version. But you cannot say that the special prosecutor is going to be independent, when indeed the current wording says that the person to be nominated and, if you like, approved by Parliament to be special prosecutor will be generally nominated by the Attorney General. So where is the independence?
So then the majority raises the question about the Attorney General's delegatory powers, power to delegate some of his functions.
Well, and that is the argument that we are making. So if the Attorney General can delegate powers that the Attorney General has, it will require an amendment of that Constitution. You simply cannot use an act of Parliament, and that is why I like the fact that you refer to, I think, Article
296.
Article 2.
1.
Yes.
1 and 2.
Where it says, and our leader was very clear on that, that you cannot amend, that the Constitution shall not be amended by an act of Parliament. It's not possible. So you can't simply just take some of the powers of the Attorney General and give it to the special prosecutor. You have to amend the Constitution. And we would not condone or be part of any process that would be in contravention of the Constitution. This is one of the many issues that we raise. And that is not because we are worried. We have no reason to worry, because as it is now, we have the requisite state institutions. Indeed, the Attorney General, who is going to nominate the person to become special prosecutor, already has the powers to take action if there is evidence pointing to alleged acts of corruption. So essentially, I mean, truth is that, what is the point?
What do you say to the school of thought that the minority is doing this just so this bill doesn't come up? Because the first time it came to Parliament, you shut it down, and now you're doing everything to frustrate the bill so that it doesn't see the light of day.
Look, if you have listened to the debate and you have read the portions of the Constitution that we have cited, what is this that anyone can say that we are trying to frustrate the bill? We are only raising legitimate issues. Look, it is important to note that as we seek to make laws, we must always remember that those laws would outlive political parties and entities. And we have said it clearly. We want it to be done, and if it is going to be done, it should be done right. It shouldn't be in contravention of the Constitution. And it should be done in a way that will make it fair and even across board. Because today MPP is in power. Just about 16 months ago, MPP was not in power. And whether you like it or not, the day would come, and I believe that come 2020, the NDC is going to be back in power. So we also have an interest in helping to fashion a law that would serve us well in the fight against corruption. We are interested in helping to fashion a law that would not be in contravention of our Constitution. Our argument is very simple and straightforward.
Are you being misunderstood?
It is deliberate, because, I mean, we have quoted Article 88. You have read it. The Constitution is here. I can give it to you to refer. We have all looked at Article 3, Article 2, and the relevant portions of the Constitution that we believe certainly presents a challenge within the context that this bill is being proposed. But, well, as the saying goes, we will have our say, they will have their way, but we would register our reservations based on principle, based on the Constitution in the bid to ensure that when it is done properly. Because we believe that laws must be made to enhance the evolution of society.
Let Eric step in now. Eric, so the Special Prosecutor's Bill promised at the election, and now the President is following through, Attorney General is in Parliament to push it. Do you see this as a frustration, the calls by the minority and the questions being raised?
I would look at it from a different perspective.
Tell me about it.
I mean, one thing that I am almost always very encouraged by the President is the conviction that he has shown since he's coming to power. And that all the things that he actually espoused whilst going around this country, begging at the time when my friends in the NDC were ridiculing him for Ghanaians to give him an opportunity to lead this country, are things that he has actually followed through. Now, this special prosecutor idea is meant to do one of two things. And he mentioned a couple of them, whereby it's imperative that we understand that we live in a system where some of the things that have happened are things that can never be allowed to happen, especially where we want to develop as a country. Now, it's meant to deal with the issues of corruption, which we all agreed that has become almost endemic. I mean, President Rawlings at a point says that the NDC, under the watch of President John Mahama, has actually taken us into an abyss, and that corruption has gotten to an all-time high. You understand? And there's so many examples of that. Whilst some of the corruption can be attributed to politicians, half of the alleged corruption. Let me finish.
No,
you see, I was quiet. Wasn't I quiet?
But these are matters.
Okay, but did I mention somebody's
allegations?
Name? Okay.
Because as we speak now, there are allegations of corruption against people working in the flag house. So that's what the allegations may about.
Let him have his.
I don't do that with you. You know that. Me and you are not on that.
He's a nice guy.
Yes.
My point is very simple. That whilst alleged corruption practices would be attributed to politicians, there are also a number of people who come into play when we talk about corruption. It's important that we look at this from that big picture perspective. For instance, about a couple of weeks ago, I was at a Public Accounts Committee hearing, right? And I sat through, apart from our authority or agency, there are other things that were happening that we can't allow these things to continue. That every year, when the Auditor General's report comes out, right, and we go and sit at Public Accounts Committee, people are basically treated with kid gloves, and they're plundering the resources of this country, resources that can be used to better use, will be used to improve the lives of the average ordinary Ghanaian in the villages, in the cities, everywhere. So it's important that we look at it from that perspective. As for the mandate given to Parliament to actually enact laws and debate this and all of those things, that is Parliament. And I feel that the processes that they are going through, I mean, if I'm being objective, would essentially make sure that we have the right law in place to make sure that we move forward. But the whole idea of the special prosecutor is something that I believe that, like he indicated, they don't have any problem with it. I don't want the situation whereby, I mean, they do their thing all the time where it's like, let's oppose it for the sake of it, right? Because as for
it was a full house yesterday.
But that is my point, that as for our friends here, even NHIS, they opposed. When the president at the time was the flag bearer and says that let's go and do the Northern Development Authority, they said, no, let's use the money to pay.
Change has come.
You understand? So these are our friends. So they would always oppose. That one we know.
So you have,
but I believe strongly that per what he has said here, I'm almost going to give him the benefit of the doubt that it's not just malicious. As for the alleged corruption or corrupt practices that was actually superintended over by President Mahama and his people, that one, the day will come. And I'm very yes.
But you don't have facts.
So they can.
Do you have facts?
Facts of what?
To point to it.
No, but I have said that. So that's why I use the word advisedly alleged. Those days will come, and people who have actually taken the scarce resources of this country and plundered it and spent it on things that we're not meant to do and all that should not be allowed to go scot-free. That one, I believe strongly that
he agrees with
you can stall the process, you can do all sort of shenanigans and all that, but the day will come.
Eric, a second reading yesterday had a full house. So what's your fear?
That is it.
No, but
the second reading had a full house.
Easy, listen.
They had a
full when
house.
they say these things, and I always try to restrain myself from trying to equalize. This is an NDC.
Don't equalize. I'm telling you what happened in Parliament yesterday.
I'm giving you an example. You remember the CDB loan? Do you remember the sort of opposition that we actually gave to the CDB law in terms of the correction that were meant to be made and the issues that we raised and all of those things? What happened? They went ahead and passed it, right, with all the errors and all of those things. And as we speak today, we're not able to even get the full benefit of what that thing that we were meant to do. Okay. So if you sit here today, because you're in opposition and say that, oh, you'll have their say and they'll have their way, it is also very almost like hypocritical to that point, because we run a majority system. And the point is that that's the reason why we are even going through these processes, is because we want to debate the issues, we want to look at the issues at stake, and it has even been to the legal committee and constitutional committee of parliament already. Right? So some of this, yes, that is their job. So for me, let's wait.
Eric, a second reading. Let's wait for the third reading.
Exactly. And then but as for the special prosecutor, it will happen. Whatever they do, it will come, and they would have their opposition to it. But the point is that there's examples of them doing that on a number of issues, and I am not surprised.
Around this table, we agree that we want it. We just want the right thing
to make it in a way that would allow it to serve the purpose for which it is being.
I thank you, Dr. Clement Park.
Let Eric know that what the argument we are making is that laws must be made to stand the test of time, and that also means that they allege accusations of acts of corruption in the current government certainly would also be matters to be considered.
Of course. So I'm sure Dr. Clement Park is the MP for Bolsa South, and Eric Chum is the Deputy CEO, Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Yes, we're told that Ghanaians spend more money on funerals than on tourism. Are you heading for funerals this weekend?
I have a funeral on Saturday.
Okay, so you'll be spending.
It's not spending. We're just going to
commissary. I also have a funeral or two in Fumbisi, in Bolsa South. I won't go there, but my representative certainly would go and represent me.
I see. So the GSS was correct about this.
Well, it is, it is part of our culture, our tradition. We try to pay homage and we try to do our best for the departed.
No, I thought we were going to do the report.
No, we'll discuss next week when you come and discuss it. I thank you very much.
You mean this fraudulent document that they are trying to use as a basis to divert attention from all the challenges?
Coco will beat me. We need to go. But no, the report that's supposed to be fraudulent, and yet it advises that your register is bloated. Your register is bloated, and now when you accept that portion of it.
The movie is under pressure.
Let's head to the courts now. And Salam Amenyo takes us into the courts. He brings us this special documentary. Enjoy. We'll be right back.
Exactly a week ago, on October 20, the Supreme Court dismissed an application by businessman Alfred Agbesiwoyemi seeking to stop the state from the valuation of his property. The presiding judge, Justice Alfred Benny, described the application as one without merit. Businessman Alfred Agbesiwoyemi's application follows state officials storming one of his residences at Trasako to value the property. Alfred Woyemi on Monday challenged the legality of the valuation of some of his property, saying the action is not backed by law. The ruling by the court has paved the way for the state to continue with the valuation of his property in a quest to retrieve monies he owed the state from a judgment debt wrongfully paid him. Meanwhile, government has indicated that it will begin another round of valuation and seizure of other property in a bid to get the rest of the 47.2 million Ghana cedis left to be paid by him. Deputy Attorney General Godfred Dami said the state is determined to recover all the money from Woyemi.
So we're not leaving any stone unturned at recovering or identifying all the assets owned by him. And we still continue with those efforts. We're still making the necessary inquiries and check. And I believe that when we come to the relevant discoveries, the public will hear about it.
Alfred Woyomi was paid 51.2 million cedis after claiming he helped Ghana raise funds to construct stadia for the hosting of the 2008 African Cup of Nations. On the same Friday, October 20, the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, JUSAG, backed down on its intended strike. According to the leadership of JUSAG, this was out of respect for the Chief Justice and also give ample time to government to find a lasting solution to its concerns. The Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, JUSAG, in a letter to the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations and signed by General Secretary of JUSAG, Derek Annan, demanded the payment of their outstanding rent allowance, which has been in arrears since January 2017. JUSAG threatened to declare a strike if government failed to make the payment on or before October 19, 2017, but has revised its roadmap after an emergency national executive meeting. President of JUSAG, Alex Nate, explained this was out of respect for the Chief Justice, Sophia Akufu. JUSAG maintained that the rent allowance which was agreed on with government as far back 2012 holds, hence any document purporting its cancellation lacks credibility.
Our road map made towards the industrial action has been revised to afford Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, to take up the issue with government and the Judicial Council on 25th October 2017. The above is also to afford government to deal with the issue once and for all by 31st October 2017, failing which we will be unable to succumb to any further entreaties. The Judicial Council and the leadership of JUSAG have never in any subsequent negotiations with government agreed to the removal or cancellation of rent allowance. Neither has the approval letter by government on our recent consolidated salaries cancelled the rent allowance that our members have enjoyed over the years.
JUSAG therefore implore on the rank and file to take note and cooperate with its leadership in making legitimate demands. On Tuesday, October 24, an Accra High Court set October 31 to give a ruling on an application for injunction filed by some 1,001 workers of ECG to stop government and the Millennium Development Authority from going ahead with processes to give the Electricity Company of Ghana out on concession. This was after the legal argument of lawyers for both applicant and defendant on why the court should not put the process on hold or otherwise. Lead counsel for the workers, Martin Kwebu, moved the motion for the interlocutory injunction, insisting that, per document he has cited, almost 6,000 workers of ECG are assured of only 5 years employment after the concessionaire takes over. He further stressed that after the concession deal pulls through, in the event of a redundancy, the competitive bargaining agreement the workers have with ECG will not be followed. Lawyer for ECG, Cephas Gali, argued that the application was needless, maintaining that it is only ECG which can declare a redundancy. The Deputy Attorney General, Godfred Dame, for his part, said the compact agreement has not been completed. Until that is done, there is no cause for action. Lawyer for the Millennium Development Authority, MIDA, Victoria Bath, insisted the compact encompasses 6 projects, with the ECG concession being one aspect, adding that in the event where the workers succeed in placing an injunction on the process but lose the substantive case, the workers cannot compensate government or MIDA because they lack the financial muscle. In their suit, the workers are seeking a perpetual injunction to restrain the defendant, their assigns and privies from continuing the compact agreement. To the Circuit Court now, High Life musician Akwesi Japan has been granted a 160,000 bail with 3 sureties in the case in which she is alleged to have conspired with another person to defraud a businessman to the tune of 105,000 cedis in a land deal. As part of her bail condition, One of the 3 sureties should be a public or civil servant earning not less than 2,000 Ghana cedis. Akwesi Japan on Tuesday pleaded not guilty to the charges of conspiracy to commit crime and fraudulent transaction of land. According to the prosecution, the musician and a man identified as Frank Ajuman, aka Killer Boss, sold the land which apparently did not belong to them to the businessman. Ajuman, who has the same charges, also pleaded not guilty and granted bail in the sum of 160,000 cedis with 3 sureties, with 1 to be justified. The prosecutor, Assistant Superintendent of Police ASP Agnes Boafo, said the complainant in the case was a car merchant while Ajuman claimed to be a building contractor. She explained that in February 2017, the businessman wanted a parcel of land by the roadside to display his cars for sale. A representative of Goodwill International Group, Philip Akpina Asibit, has told an Accra High Court it was not possible for NYEP to pay UNDPI because there was no contractual agreement between the two. He said if former Minister of Youth and Sports testified that payment should be made to UNDPI, it confirms that some work was done by Goodwill International Group. Philip Akpina Asibit told the court the charge preferred on him that he deceived the ministry and NYEP by securing $65 million from World Bank was not true. According to him, the former Youth and Sports Minister Kofi Humadu, in a speech and a cabinet memo, made reference to work done by Goodwill International Group. He said Kofi Humadu understands the workings of the World Bank and is aware that an individual cannot directly deal with a financial institution. He also stated Kofi Humadu is aware that an individual cannot approach him with a story that through his own initiative has given an amount to an institution he, Kofi Humadu, oversees. The pathologist who conducted autopsy on late Major Maxwell Mahama has told an Accra Magistrate Court he could not trace part of the body of the deceased during the autopsy. Dr. Lawrence Eduse told the court he is unable to tell who had taken the body parts and for what purpose. On October 10, the court ordered the pathologist, Dr. Lawrence Eduse, and the head of the 37th Military Hospital Pathology Department to appear before it to explain why the report has been delayed. Dr. Lawrence Eduse appeared before the court after investigators demanded he appears. Dr. Eduse, appearing before the court, said he had requested for the crime scene officer, the officer in charge of ballistics, and investigations to assist him, but none heeded to his request. He blamed the investigators for the delay of the report. In answering why he had not contacted authorities when he was faced with challenges, he told the court he encountered difficulties as the judicial service delayed in payment of work done. The police prosecutor, DSP George Amega, in defense, said the law gives the pathologist the opportunity to write to the police if he encountered difficulties and thus rejected the doctor's claim. The magistrate, Ebenezer Kwekwansa, gave the pathologist and the police 3 weeks to make sure the autopsy report is made available.
So those of you who love music will know that that is Erama Bedu, and unfortunately she has passed away. We hear she passed away yesterday at the New Ifidiase Government Hospital at 72 years. May her soul rest in perfect peace. But moving away, let's talk about something that brings more joy to all of us when we talk about education and helping one another build our future. I'm talking about NAPE Foundation, and I'm speaking to Anita Asamoah. She's the Development and Donor Relations Officer at NAPE Foundation, as well as Akoto De Grossi, the CEO and founder of Fat to Fit Ghana. Good morning, gentlemen and lady, and welcome to NewDay.
Good morning.
So let's delve into it. When we talk about NAPE Foundation, what is it?
Okay. NAPE Foundation is an organization, is a non-profit organization based in Accra, Ghana, and Portland, Oregon, USA. And it was founded by Dr. Peter Carlos Okante in 2005. And what we do as a foundation is to support needy but brilliant students who don't have access to higher education.
Right.
Yeah.
But what do you do? What is your core mandate? And how do you perform this role?
Okay, so from 2005, as I mentioned earlier, the foundation has been supporting students from institutions such as Ascension University, University of Ghana, and the Central University. But in 2014, the Board of Trustees focused their attention on supporting brilliant but needy students from the rural part of Ghana who attend Palm Institute.
Right.
Yeah.
You are doing a project that has to do with money, and I see you wearing the shirt, One Ghana CD project. What is that?
Okay, so the One Ghana CD project is an initiative that came up last year. Right. That was in September 2016, and it is aimed at awarding scholarships to needy but brilliant students from the rural parts of Ghana. And our goal is to reach over 1 million people who would also support these ones by donating a CD or more. Yeah.
And so all Ghanaians are being entreated to support in this.
Yes,
but how do you identify participants or people who are brilliant but needy from these rural areas?
Okay, so as I said earlier, we have a school that is Palm Institute. So we have a recruitment department that goes to some selected secondary schools in the rural part of Ghana, like Nafana Senior High School. We have Ningo Pram Pram. And basically we have a website, so people also apply through our website. Yeah.
Very well. But you're also, Akoto is here, so definitely people are wondering what he's doing for your foundation. What exactly is the Fitness for Change project also about?
So the Fitness for Change is one vehicle that we are using to raise awareness about this project, because we know that fitness is important. It affects us all,
right?
And so we are using it as a vehicle to raise awareness about the project and to also raise money.
Okay.
And tomorrow we are having a big program at the Pediase Ibri Mountains climb. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So we want to invite the general public to join and come and learn more about this wonderful project.
Right.
It's, there are many people who want to give and they don't know how, and they think that they have something small. But One Ghana CD, it's really something you can commit to and support a very big project.
Right.
Yeah.
But when people are coming, because I'm coming to walk, maybe I won't carry money on me. So as I'm coming, if I don't have money, how do I support this cause?
Okay, so we have mobile money platforms that you can always channel your resources to. And we have MTN mobile money platforms. That's 054-927-4232. And you can also check more information on our website. That's www.napefoundation.org. Yeah.
So which people are you partnering with to get this Fitness for Change going, and also your One Ghana CD project?
Okay.
Yeah, Part of it for sure, because we are one of the main partners, and also our media partners, TV3 and 3FM as well, and other notable, individuals coming to join us for the program tomorrow.
But what time does it start?
5:30 a.m. Yeah, we would meet at the police station, Imensa police station, and then by 6 o'clock would take off and then walk up the mountains and donate and give out flyers about the project and have a big event on top of the mountain, a big aerobic session with B, the bully. And
she's going to be there.
Yeah. And as she said, there will be stands for people to donate and also to find more about the project.
Right.
Yeah.
And also we have donation boxes around, so you can always put your money inside. Yeah.
Will that be only at the Pediase Walk, or is in the whole of Ghana?
In the whole of Ghana, we'll be talking to big people. We'll go to offices to talk to them about the One Ghana CD project. That's why we are using this Fitness for Change to also create awareness as a platform to create awareness so that we can be accepted whenever we decide to place these donation boxes around. Yeah.
Anita, let me come back to NAPE Foundation and its core mandate. You've been in existence for a while. How would you say this, helping brilliant but needy students from the rural areas has impacted on the lives of individuals who partake in this?
Okay, so basically, as I said, we are creating awareness using this fitness walk. So if you join us or if you come on board, definitely your contribution would help in a long way to help someone continue his or her education or access higher education.
But do you know any people, I mean, those who go through this process, who are helped, do they come back to help the institute?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
And are they happy with the response you get?
Yes, please.
Very well. Anyway, guys, so
I
you
think
had
we've helped so far over 150 students.
Nice.
Yeah, who have gone through the program and have benefited from the project.
And are giving back to society.
For sure, yeah. So we really want to encourage people to support the project. Education is very powerful.
It is.
And for me, I'm also very passionate about the project because at one point I also needed scholarship to even pursue higher studies abroad. And so I know the importance that getting support from people is. So yeah, let's all support this project.
Definitely, we'll all be there. NAPE Foundation is all about sacrificial leadership, investment, and higher education, and that's what they seek to do with One Ghana CD project and also Fitness for Change. So tomorrow, they are creating a platform for all of us to join them with a walk from a breed to Pediase, exercise, get healthy, but also help invest in someone's life to make the person a better one for Ghana. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Stay here with us.
Welcome back and thank you very much for joining us. Let's talk about movies and a very interesting title for a movie these days, the 21st century. We're talking to Sewa Opoku-Addo. She's an actress and the latest one has come up, Prince Dovlo's Blue Film. Good morning.
Good morning.
You are in red.
Yes, I am.
How are you doing?
I'm very fine, thank you.
So, where from this title, Blue Film?
Well, I think Prince could actually explain that more or better. But there's a perception in Africa that when you mention blue film, it means you're probably going to have sex or nudity or something in the movie. But this one is actually very different. It's a comedy movie. And yes.
So, I mean, interesting.
Obviously, the controversial title. Because when you say blue film, we're all thinking pornography.
It is. I mean, because of the origin, how it occurred. But, so this is a comedy, right? Comedy about what?
It's based on SDK. He's the main character. So it's based on his life and his breakthrough. So it's all about SDK.
SDK, what's that mean?
SDK is actually a comedian. He does short skits.
Okay.
Yes, so it's about his breakthrough.
His life.
About him,
I see. And so this movie is how long? How long is the movie?
1 hour.
1 hour?
Yeah, 1 hour. 1 hour blue film.
But what role do you play in that movie? You're an actress in that movie. What are you? What's your character?
SDK's girlfriend.
The way she does it with a smirk.
Yeah, man. And how exactly did you play it? What did SDK make you do?
Well, I help him achieve his aim. So it's more like we're a team. Teamwork more, yes.
Were you stealing from people?
No. I just helped him. Yeah, I just helped him meet a few people in the industry and achieve his aims and aspirations. Yeah.
For you, acting in Prince Dovlo's movie, I mean, he's one of our finest. Acting in his movies, what did they expose you to?
Well, it really, Prince Dovlo is known for music videos.
Right.
So making it a movie, it's very different. And it was my first comedy movie. So it was different, working with other people and working with a music director who is now a movie director. So it was different.
Comparable to YOLO, I mean, which you starred in, which would you say was more challenging? This or Blue Film?
You know why it's more challenging? Because it's a comedy something. And you keep laughing and they keep cutting it. And it's funny how the characters who crack these jokes come back to their role very quickly. And you keep laughing and laughing and laughing. And I mean...
So you couldn't hold it?
I couldn't hold it.
Who else is in the movie?
The KJTR lawyer.
Okay. Oh, my God.
So you can imagine, we have
This is not good. This is not good. I'm sure you want to tag me.
Yes.
Interesting. Wow, you must have had a tough time. So the movie's been premiered.
Yes.
When?
4th November, Silverbird, 6 p.m.
4th November, Silverbird, 6 p.m.
Is it free?
No, it's not free.
What's the damage?
30 cedis. Cool, 30
cool.
cedis. Just come and have fun with your friends, your family. Good laugh. Yeah.
Interesting one there.
But what has been your challenge as a female in this industry? I mean, acting these movies. What for you is the greatest challenge, if I would say?
Well, my greatest challenge is, I think, breaking away from the YOLO tag, because I always tell people I want to be recognized as a brand on my own, but not as the girl from YOLO.
Right.
So I'm working on that right now. I want people to see me as Sewa Bukwado, but not as Sewa Bukwado from YOLO.
Okay.
Yes, I'm working on my brand, me solo. Yes.
Right.
Has fame gotten into your head?
No, it hasn't.
It hasn't?
No.
Will it ever?
No.
It won't. Why?
I know what I want. I mean, why would fame get into my head?
It does get into other
I
people's
know.
heads.
I know.
So what are you doing to keep it out there so it doesn't get into your head?
Well, I know what I want. I know what it does to people when it gets into their head. It's funny what people do these days for cheap attention. And you have to stand out. You can't follow the crowd, and because all of them are doing that, you also no. So I want to stand out. I want to be known for Sewa Bukwado, who brought a difference, who did something different and brought a change.
Ghana couldn't make it to the Oscars this year. For you as an actress, I'm sure it's a bit of concern to you. What do you think went wrong? Do you know? Have you found out?
Well, I feel we don't promote our own in the industry. We're too busy talking about our faults and flaws instead of probably coming together and working as a team to push ourselves and, I mean, take ourselves to the next level. We're too busy bringing people down and criticizing it. It's bad. I mean, if it's not, we don't have to talk about this director, that, no, it's all together. It's a Ghana movie industry. So we have to go together as a team and work, teamwork. That's the main word over there, I would say.
See, so we'll come on the 4th of November to see you at the Silverbird Cinema.
Yes.
It's 30 series, and yes, we'll be there as well. Maybe your closing thoughts before we jump out. Your closing thoughts before we jump out.
Well, everyone should be there. It's, I mean, you know, when we say blue movie, everyone thinks it's porn, but no. Trust me, honey, you should be there with your
But the title of this is Blue Film.
Yes, Blue Film.
Okay.
But it's clear.
I'll tell my mother about it. We thank you very much, Sewa Bukwado, for coming through. We'll take a break at this point. I'd wanted to show you a few photos and share a few comments with you, but we'll take a break. On return, we'll show you all of that action and how a certain DC's home has been burgled and items that have been taken. All of that coming up at you right now.